What's going on, guys? My name is Nick and welcome back to Olsen Auto, and today we're finally working on the XL a bit more. In the last video we painted up the frame and that came out really good, did a nice gloss white. Now we have to be painting two springs, the rear shock spring and the kickstand spring. We also have to paint the rear shock itself, and then hopefully we'll do some assembly. I would love to get the engine painted, I just don't know how reasonable that is. That's a huge undertaking and I don't want it to come out like trash, so I really got to think that one through. Make sure it's prepped perfectly and all of that stuff. I'm still gonna have to go out later today and grab the paint. It's really nice out, it's warm, but like it's super wet, so hopefully some of the paint actually sticks. But without further ado, let's go see where we stand with the bike, what needs to get done, because that list is pretty long. A little off camera work, but the freshly painted swing arm is on the bike. It looks super good. This I'll talk about in just a second, this little plastic piece, but that's a big discovery. We have the pegs on and the kickstand, working on the kickstand swing now. This thing looks amazing. All this fresh paint is starting to look really nice and finished. So I'm going to talk about the rear wheel real quick because it's being a pain, to say the least. So the chrome on the inside of the wheel is actually starting to fade off and peel off and chip off, and it leaves us with this finish. Obviously, that's not the best thing to have rubbing your inner tube, so what we've been doing is just chipping away. I'm going to take all of it off until it stops coming off easily, and then lay down an extra thick protective layer between the spokes and the tube, just because I don't want this to ever cause a problem for anyone down the road. So I'm probably going to go at it with a wire wheel, take off whatever's loose, smoothen it out, and then use the old inner tube and some tape as like the spoke protector thing. That should work pretty good. Obviously, still have to pop out the wheel bearings from this wheel. They're pretty shot. They're super shot, so I'm glad I got new ones. Still working on the rear brakes because the rear brakes are going to be a pain in the ass. They're kind of broken too, which doesn't surprise me. But check this out. Now you'll see this plastic is faded in some spots and brand new in others. The trick to restoring that old plastic was some automatic transmission fluid, coating a rag in the ATF, and then like rubbing it and letting it soak into the plastic, come back and then wipe it off again. That restored plastic that looked like that into plastic that looked like that. Just automatic transmission fluid. So if you guys are wondering, that is an awesome trick to know. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to head out. Where am I going to go? Probably O'Reilly. Got to grab some blue spray paint so I can finish up this rear spring. As you can see, don't want to put a nice old spring into a nice new frame. And I also have to paint the shock. I'm going to paint it gray and black. I have black and I have gray, so that's all set. Just got to grab some blue for this. I have white because there are also a few engine mounts that I have to paint. These little dudes right here, I got to paint all those, clean them up, make sure they look set. Probably won't get around to painting the engine today. That's a huge undertaking, and like I said earlier, I don't want to do that one half-assed. So, I'm going to work on the wheel, paint the motor mounts, paint the spring, paint the shock, finish restoring this piece of plastic. I'm going to finish up this piece of plastic, start letting it soak, and then I'm going to head out in the Prelude or Accord. I'll think that through. Head out in one of the cars, and then we'll grab some blue paint, because that's all I need. It's like $6, $7. Super stoked. And then, yeah, I'm going to paint it, put the shock back in, and then it'll be one step closer to getting that engine in. Got to paint the motor mounts, like I said. And I have some, like the passenger foot pegs and the kickstand spring I also have to paint. But let's stop talking. Let's just get to it. Got our ATF right here. Hoping it doesn't mess up those stickers too bad. Now we're just going to let that sit for a hot minute or two. Let's go out. Let's grab some spray paint. Now I was wondering which car to take, Prelude or Accord, but the Accord has those freshly painted white wheels looking better than ever. So I figure I gotta flex that, and obviously they're already dirty. I took it for a drive on like a monsoon. But we're gonna get a cold start. This is a 3-inch stainless pipe, no muffler. I need to fix that. Not that I want to put a muffler on, but yeah, I gotta finish the exhaust. You guys already know that. A little bit ignorantly loud, I'll be honest, but we gotta go grab some paint. Let's go ahead and let's do that. So I picked up some blue paint for the shock spring. Now I was gonna paint the shock gray, but after running it over the wire wheel, I would say that is pretty much brand new. I don't think you could tell a difference between that and a brand new shock. So that looks good. I've been running over all of these bolts on the wire wheel. As you can see, there's the before, nice and crusty. There's the after. These are all looking good. Doing this to literally every single one so that there's not a single rusty bolt or nut. Ready to paint most of that stuff, just got to clean it. It's all sanded and wire wheeled. So finishing up some of these motor mount bolts, just running them over so they can be nice and clean. And then gonna paint that and hopefully throw the shock back in and maybe a few other things. This is the 100% professional paint booth. Got the rear passenger pegs, the two locky things for the rear axle, rear brake piece, all the motor mounts, and then we have the rear spring right up here, all cleaned up, alcohol, ready for paint. Got my assortment of paints, and we're just gonna go ahead and paint it. So here's the before. So while that other paint dries on both the spring and the other stuff, I still have to flip the other stuff over. And yeah, I know I was gonna clip this as after, but that seemed kind of corny. So I decided to take the engine over. I finished wire wheeling it and brushing it the best I could. And I used Simple Green. I've been hosing it down. It seems pretty good. It's very, very clean. It just fell over. It's very, very clean. I'm gonna hose down the bottom real quick, and then I'm gonna drain the oil, tape it off, alcohol it, and I guess paint the engine today. I didn't think we would, but we might even see the engine in the frame today, which would be unreal. So these bits are all painted, at least on this side. I gotta flip those over, that over, those over, all those over. All those have to get painted on the other side. And then this is how the spring came out. I think the spring came out absolutely insane. The spring looks so good. So I'm gonna go ahead, flip this over, paint it, get the engine over, tape it off, clean it one final time, and then hopefully paint it. And then maybe we'll see a lot of color get back on the bike. I'm excited, making a ton of strides today. Now this looks a lot worse than it is, maybe. So I kinda just went crazy with the masking tape and tried to get every bolt that I could within reason. I guess we're gonna go ahead and paint this now. It's all cleaned up with alcohol, as clean as it's gonna get. So I'm just gonna give it the old full send treatment. Do what I can do now. Obviously I can't do the bottom, but then do this. I mean, the bottom's gonna have a skid plate on it anyway, so does it really matter? That off. I'm gonna have to sand this off once it's painted. Hopefully it sands off, but let's just get to work. Can recommends 2 light coats and 1 medium coat, 10 minutes in between each, and all the paint has to be applied within an hour. This is what we're looking like after the first light coat. So I went ahead, we are 3 coats deep on the motor. I tipped it to the side. It actually started drying a lot faster than I thought it would, which is awesome. Now I'm painting the bottom. I'm gonna let that dry after 3 more coats, flip it the other way, and then pull it in for the night. The motor won't be in the frame tonight, sadly, but it will be painted. I'll show you guys that. Let me show you what I've been doing in the meantime. So I went out to my favorite store, O'Reilly, and I picked up a nice new tub of thread locker. I just realized this is thread locker blue. Anyway, for the first time in my life, I have actually been using Loctite on the bolts. Like, that's nuts. I don't use Loctite. I am making sure this is like the cleanest build I've ever made. Every single bolt has been gone through and cleaned. I even did that one. I just finished up this one. Redoing all the bolts, torquing them all to spec. That's the only thing I'm not doing, is torquing them to spec. And that's just because it's whatever. Like, it doesn't really matter. But I'm doing blue Loctite on all of them. I'm making sure everything is clean and ready. I have a pile of bolts here that I'm going through. Just all these old nasty bolts just going through, making them all look good. This is how those little brackets for the motor mount turned out. As you can see, they all came out great. This is the foot peg. Again, came out great. What else did I paint? I painted this thing for the brake, which probably came out the best. And of course, these are actually cool. They're gonna sit right about there, and they're gonna look so nice against that fresh swing arm. Guys, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to sell this bike. It's literally every single bolt has been gone through. In case I need to do any more explaining, right? This doesn't look too good. I mean, you know, it's a clean bolt, but it's not anything exquisite. This is what it looked like before. You can see why I'm doing this. So, I got a few things bolted up to the XL in the rear end. Now, I would throw the shock on tonight, but I'm still waiting for that paint to cure. Especially that paint, because the spring, I want to make sure when it flexes, the paint flexes. It seems questionable, but from what I saw online, people have done it and they haven't had any major issues. That being said, the engine is also done with the paint. Let me show you guys. So right now I have this plastic piece bolted up. I have the passenger foot pegs freshly painted, bolted up. Of course, those bolts were redone as well. Loctited these as well. Kickstand is up with the spring. Now it's not going to hit this when it's done, but it does now because there's no weight on the rear swing arm. Torqued and Loctited all those. And now I'm actually working on finishing up these wheels. I'm going at the spokes with a wire wheel and the drill, and then hitting the actual wheel itself with Scotch-Brite. Seems to be working pretty well. Yeah, then I have some other parts in here that I'm just trying to figure out how on earth they're going to go back in there. But right now, definitely making some big strides forward. She's starting to look more and more like a bike every minute. So I'm pretty excited. Not much work left to do tonight. Gonna finish up this wheel, I think, and then bring the engine inside. This is the before on the wheels. This is the after. As you guys can see, there's a huge improvement in the wheels. And of course, this took probably 20 minutes for this one side. So about 2 hours worth of restoration into the wheels, assuming the front goes even close to as easy. And that's also not accounting for the rear sprocket that I have to put on, the wheel bearings, everything. Like, there's still a bunch of stuff, tires, tubes, everything. And I still have to do inside the wheel as well, where the chrome is peeling up. So these are probably going to have 5 hours of work into the wheels alone. But the Concours restoration doesn't come easy. The engine is all painted. I love how it came out. I think it's going to look great with the bike. It's a little darker than I wanted, but it does look good. Started getting the masking tape off, but there is a ton of masking tape to take off. So that's going to take a while. I'm going to go eat dinner, and I'm going to end this video here. Guys, if you like how this build is going, be sure to watch the playlist. There's a whole bunch of other videos of me working on this thing. If you guys like the channel, be sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. If you like the video, be sure to hit the like button. Comment down below if you guys are working on a restoration like this, if you have an old dirt bike you're working on. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.